Radha Madan Mohan ki jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda
Ji ki jai.
Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda ki
Jai.
Jai Shri Shri Radha Damodar ki
Jai.
Jai Shri Shri Radha Giridhari ki jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Shyama Sundar ki jai. Gaur Devanande Hari Hari Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
So, we're continuing our study of the Shrimad Bhagavtam. First canto, chapter 3. And this chapter is entitled, Krishna is the source of all incarnations. What is the word that means the source of all incarnations?
Everything comes from him. All
The word is
incarnations come from
avatari.
him.
Avatari. There's avatars, and the avatari is the source of all the avatars. So today we're reading from shloka number 13. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayo Mudirayet.
Tato Jayamudiraye.
Nashtaprayesvabhadreshu.
Nashtaprayesvabhadreshu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavad-yuttama shloke.
Bhagavate Shloke.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishiti.
Om Jnana-timirandasya.
Om Ajnana-timirandasya.
Jnananjana-shalakaya.
Jnananjana-shalakaya.
Chakshurum militam yena.
Chakshurum militam yena.
Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha.
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Mukam karoti vacharam.
Mukam karoti vachalam.
Anghum langhayate girim.
Pangum langhayate girim.
Yatripatamaham bhante.
Yatripatamaham bhante.
Shri Gurum Dinataharinam.
Shri Guru Dinatarinam.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha.
Kripasindhubhya evacha.
Kripasindhubhya evacha.
Patitanam pavanebhyo.
Patitanam pavanebhyo.
Vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Sri Krishna Chaitanya.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya.
Prabhu Nityananda.
Prabhu Nityananda.
Sri Advaita Gadadhara.
Shri Advaita Gadadhara.
Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda.
Shivasani Gaura Bhakta-vrinda.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare.
Hare Rama Hare Rama.
Hare Rama Hare Rama.
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
So we have come from India, from the very hot, to Australia, which is very cold, for me at least. So please don't mind, I may have to take care of my body from time to time, which is feeling the cold. Shloka number 13. Ashtame me juve, ashtame me judevyam tu, navirjata urukramaha, darshayan vadmadiralam, sarvashama namaskritam, ashtame me judevyam tu, nabijata urukramaha, darshayan bhatmad dhiranam, sarvashrama namaskritam, ashtame me judevyam tu, navirjata urukramaha, darshayan bhatmadiranam, sarvashrama namaskritam. Anyone want to give it a try?
अष्टमे मेरुदेवायां तु नाभिर्जाता उरुक्रमा दर्शयान् वर्तं धीराणां सर्वश्रमा नमस्कृतम्
अष्टमे मेरुदेव्यं तु नाभिर्जाता गुरुक्रमः दर्शयन् वर्त्मधीरणाम् सर्वाश्रमो नमस्कृतम्
Ashtame, the eighth of the incarnations. Meru Devyam tu, in the womb of Meru Devi. Nabhe, King Nabi. Jata, to birth. Urukramaha, the all-powerful Lord. Darshayan, by showing. Vartma, the way. Dhiranam, of the perfect beings. Sarva, all. Ashrama, orders of life. Namaskritam, honored by. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The eighth incarnation was King Rishab, the son of King Nabi, and his wife Meru Devi. So King Nabi and Meru Devi, they had a child that was the incarnation of the Supreme Lord, and his name was Rishab. In this incarnation, the Lord showed the path of perfection, which is followed by those who have fully controlled their senses and who are honored by all orders of life. So this is a very interesting shloka, because as the Lord took the avatar of King Rishab, his goal was to show the path of perfection. That means dhiranam, of the perfect beings. So one has to become dhira, one has to be self-controlled. Dhira means that whatever's going on outside, you're the same inside. You're never disturbed, never agitated, never bothered. You never get angry, you never get upset. Whatever's going on outside, you remain perfectly calm. Dhira, within. So, the Lord wanted to show that path, and who follows that path? Those persons who have fully controlled their senses. So, persons who are attempting to control their senses, they become dhira. And what happens when you become dhira? And who are honored by all orders of life. Then you are honored by everyone. What does that mean? It means that the person who is dhira is respected by everyone. You don't desire honor or respect, but by becoming a dhira Vaishnava, you automatically are honored and respected by others, because they can understand that you are on a higher level, on a higher devotional level. Srila Prabhupada's purport: the society of human beings is naturally divided. What happened to the mic? Someone turned it on.
Yes, sir.
The society of human beings is naturally divided into 8 by orders and statuses of life. The 4 divisions of occupation and 4 divisions of cultural advancement. So here Prabhupada's talking about the varnas and the ashramas. And how does he define ashrama? In the word for word is the orders of life. But here in the purport he says the divisions of cultural advancement. The intelligent class, the administrative class, the productive class, and the laborer class are the 4 divisions of occupation. And the student life, the householder's life, retired life, and renounced life are the 4 statuses of cultural advancement towards the path of spiritual realization. Out of these, the renounced order of life, or the order of sannyas, is considered the highest of all, and a sannyasi is constitutionally the spiritual master for all the orders and divisions. So this was Vedic culture. But Prabhupada has instituted a higher culture than Vedic culture. And that is Bhagavad Dharma culture, Sanatana Dharma culture. And this is known as Daivi Varnashram. What's being described here is the common Varnashram, the general Varnashram, for the general mass of people. But for those who have taken up the process of Bhakti Yoga, is a higher level of Varnashram known as Daivi Varnashram, the divine Varnashram. And in this Varnashram, everybody follows the same principles. It's not that the sannyasis only follow the 4 regular principles. Everybody follows those principles. So, who is the most recognized as the most advanced? Is Trinava Pichanichana, Durorivasa Ishana, those who are the most humble and the most tolerant. So, Tarorivasa Hishnuna, Lord Chaitanya is saying that his followers must become more tolerant than the tree. And how do we become more tolerant than the tree? Yesterday I spoke about that. By not desiring any honor and respect. And here, the same point is being made. Dhiranam. We have to become dhira. Undisturbed. Sometimes Prabhupada defines the word dhira as sober. So there's conditions of mentality, the sober and the intoxicated. So the intoxicated means that we're overcome by our own self-worth, our own position. We may think I'm the greatest, I'm the most intelligent, I am the wealthiest, I am the most beautiful, I am the most powerful. Or you may be thinking I'm the most fallen, I'm the most ignorant, I'm the most this or I'm the most that. But I'll share with you a little Prabhupada Lila to illuminate and clarify this topic. There was, when I was living in the Krishna Balaram Mandir in 1975, one of my godbrothers there, his name was Vishal. And Vishal, he was just an ordinary devotee, new devotee. He wasn't one of the so-called big guns. So when Prabhupada would go out for his morning walk every morning at 6 a.m., the leaders would go, the temple presidents, the sannyasis, and anyone who was known as a big gun. But Vishal wanted to go out, but they wouldn't let him. They said, temple president said, you have so much service to do. How you can go out in the morning walk? You got to do your service. So he came up with an idea. Let me wake up at 2 a.m., chant all my japa before Mangalarti, and right after Mangalarti, do all my service. So when Prabhupada's ready to go out for his morning walk, I can go out with him because I have finished all my service. So that was his plan. He got up early next morning, finished his japa, did the morning program, finished his service, and it was about 5:45, and he was thinking, okay, I have 15 minutes, I'll just rest a little bit here before I go out. They already know what happened. He rested and he dozed off. He fell asleep and missed the morning walk. And then when he woke up, he was distraught. So he just carried on chanting extra japa in front of Prabhupada's quarters, waiting for Prabhupada to return. And when Prabhupada returned, Vishal did flat out dandavats. He says, please forgive me, Srila Prabhupada, I'm your most fallen disciple. And Srila Prabhupada said, you're not the most of anything. We are not the most of anything. We're not the most fallen, we're not the most advanced, not the most intelligent, not the most this or that or the other thing. We're all very just general devotees. So the Vedas is for the general devotees. The Vedas is meant for everybody. Agreed? Yes. It gives the lowest common denominator that everyone can follow. But the process of bhakti yoga, following the path of bhakti yoga, is not for everybody. It's for those who will dedicate their lives to going back home, back to Godhead in this life, and only prosecute devotional service for the Supreme Lord, or service to the Vaishnavas, or service to the temple, like this. So they're a special group within the Vedic society, and they follow the Daivi Varnashram system. And Srila Prabhupada is so genius, he can describe anything, the most complex topics, in just a few words. So he described Daivi Varnashram in just a couple of words, doing the needful. Doing the needful, no matter what your situation is, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas, you do the needful. You do whatever has to be done. Because we're beyond the mundane classifications. We're at the Vaishnava platform. Vaishnava is higher than brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, or sannyas. When you come to the Vaishnava platform, you're at the highest level. And at that level, everyone's equal. So how do we experience this? So in the 1990s, I was temple president of our temple in Jagannath Puri, and I saw how everything was implemented in Jagannath Puri, because Jagannath Puri, they've been following Vaishnava Dharma for 1,000 years. So, had anybody been to Jagannath Puri and had Jagannath Mahaprasad? What do you notice there? You have to sit on the floor. You can't sit on an asana. Because if you sit on an asana, you're higher than Mahaprasad, which is not different than Jagannath. It's an aparad. So you have to sit on the bare floor. And then the Mahaprasad is on the leaf plate, so it's higher than you. So they fully understand that the Mahaprasad is non-different than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they live according to that. What else do they understand? They understand that as Vaishnavas, as servants of Jagannath, that Lord Jagannath sees us with equal vision. Savat Sarveshu Bhuteshu, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I see everyone with equal vision. So in Jagannath Puri, they have the same vision as Lord Jagannath. They see everyone with equal vision, especially when you're honoring Mahaprasad. Not if you're trying to get into the temple, then they don't have equal vision. But if you're honoring Mahaprasad, everyone is, because of Mahaprasad is the Supreme Personality of God in Jagannath. So before the Lord, before the Mahaprasad, everyone's equal. Therefore, sannyasis, grihastas, ladies, children, everybody sits together. Not in groups, but everyone sits together because Lord Jagannath has equal vision. So this is Daivi Varnashram. Now, in ISKCON, and here Prabhupada's speaking about the Vedic system at the time of King Nabi, we should understand that when Prabhupada gives a purport on a shloka, he's speaking about that shloka, that time, that place, that circumstance. Desh Kal Patra. Prabhupada always speaks according to Desh Kal Patra. Time, place, circumstance. Country, gender, age. Prabhupada specifically speaks exactly to the persons who will receive it. So what he may say to a lady would not be the same as what he would say to a gentleman. What he would say to a child is not the same that he would say to an adult. What he would say to someone in a communist country might be different than what he would say in Australia. Because he gives the exact instruction that you need for your time, your place, your circumstance, your gender, your age. So here he's speaking about the Vedic system. So, but I'm just going to digress a little and speak about Daivi Varnashram, because we are all following the path of Bhakti Yoga. If I was speaking to a crowd of people who had come for the first time, then I would give the Vedic understanding. But you already have a higher understanding, you're already on the path. So we should speak on the higher understanding. So, out of these 4 ashrams in the Vedic system, the sannyas is considered the topmost, because the sannyas goes and preaches to everyone else. They're showing the example that I'm renouncing Indriya Tripti. Clear? But in our ISKCON society, in the Vaishnava society of Bhakti Yoga, everybody's following the principles. And then when everyone's following the principles, everyone is on the path of Bhakti Yoga, everyone's chanting 16 rounds, everyone's following the principles, then which ashram is the most noble? So to get the answer to that, we have to go to the Shastra. So there are many examples. I'm going to give you my favorite example. And we all remember Lord Ram. He was going to be crowned the new king. Dasarath wanted him to be the new king, but Kaikeyi did not want him to be the new king. So she went to Dasarath. You promised me 2 boons when I saved your life on the battlefield. Oh yeah, well, yeah, you can have them. Make Bharat the king and banish Ram to the forest. He was in great shock. How could you say such a thing? But Ram, he's the perfect disciple. He accepted his father like his guru. He said, oh, then I must go. So he went to Sita Devi. Oh, my dear Sita, you are a princess. You were brought up in the royal palace. You had maidservants. Everything was done for you. You lived in opulence your whole life. You cannot live in the forest. You please stay here. I'll only be gone for 13, 14 years, and then I'll come back. This is the Treta Yuga where people lived for 10,000 years, so 14 years was nothing. You wait for me, I'll come back. Bharat heard this. It came to Bharat's attention. So Bharat went to Ram. He said, Ram, what are you doing? You can't renounce Sita and leave without her. You're not a sannyasi that you can just give up all responsibility and go in the forest. You're a grihastha. And a grihastha accepts all responsibility because the grihastha ashram is the most noble ashram. Because the grihastha ashram takes responsibility for the children, for the women, for the brahmanas, for the aged, for the sick, and even for the sannyasis when they come around. You give them money, you give them food. So Lord Ram apologized. Oh, yeah, you're right. So then he said to Sita, yes, you can come. So here we understand a different understanding. The most noble ashram is the grihastha ashram, because we take responsibility for everybody else. We don't give up responsibility. It's not that the grihasthas are not preachers. They're also preachers. They also travel all over the world. I know many devotees, husband and wife couples that are traveling around the world today. Madhavananda and Krishna Kund, for example, Yadavar and Vishaka, and so many. But they're grihasthas, and they do take responsibility for the children, for the ladies, for the infirm, for the aged, for the brahmanas, and also the sannyasis. So here we're speaking about Daivi Varnashram. And this is what Prabhupada wanted to implement in ISKCON, Daivi Varnashram. That everybody is on the highest platform because we're all Vaishnavas, beyond the 4 ashrams. And therefore, we have to do the needful, whatever needs to be done to further Krishna consciousness all over the world. And the perfect example of this was my godbrother Jayananda Prabhu. Jayananda Prabhu would do everything. He was an engineer, a graduate engineer. So he would be sometimes fixing the cars as a mechanic, full of grease and dirt. And other times he'd go on the altar. He would go into the kitchen and he would cook prasadam. And he would distribute that prasadam to the devotees. Prabhupada explained what was a brahmana. So I'm going to give you Prabhupada's definition of a brahmana. A brahmana is a person that when they go into a room, they leave that room more clean than when they entered it. And Jayananda, he lived up to that. He would go into the kitchen and he would cook prasadam for the devotees, and then he would clean all the pots, sweep the floors, clean everything before he came out. He left that place, the kitchen, cleaner when he came out than when he went in. And he loved to distribute prasadam. He would always take last. And he would serve the devotees faithfully, and he loved to serve the devotees. And then when he sat down, he would honor prasad last, and then he would always say, "This is the best prasad ever." He would say that every day. So one day, one new bhakta said, but Jayananda, you said that yesterday was the best prasad ever. Yesterday was fantastic, but today it's even better. And why did he say that? Because he understood that prasada is non-different than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Krishna is ever increasing, always expanding, always becoming more perfect, more blissful, more everything. So Jayananda understood that. Now, Jayananda only went to India one time. He was taken there in 1974, and he went to Jagannath Puri, then he went to Mayapur with this temple president, Bhaktadas. He was from the San Francisco temple. And when Bhaktadas and Jayananda entered Mayapur, word spread, Bhaktadas and Jayananda are here. So immediately, Jayapataka Swami, he greeted them and invited them, you must come and take prasad with us. The noon prasad, the Rajbhog prasad, cooked by the Bengali Matajis who learned from their grandmothers, who they learned from their grandmothers, all the way going back to the time of Mahaprabhu. This is the best prasad in the world. So you please come. So he came, Bhaktadas and Jayananda came, they sat there, and they were waiting for the brahmacharis to bring out the buckets full of this wonderful prasad. So as soon as the brahmacharis brought the prasad out, Jayananda got up to serve the prasad because he was in the mood of das, anudas. He always served the prasad. And Jayapataka Maharaj said, well, what are you doing? Well, I'm going to go serve the prasad. No. You're our special guest. You sit down. They'll serve you. And when Jayananda heard, they'll serve you, he stopped. And he didn't know what to do. And he was just thinking. And then he said, I can't do that. And he grabbed the pots and started serving everybody. And then after he served everybody, he sat down. He said, this is the best prashadam I've ever tasted. He was such an example that when he left his body, the devotees informed Srila Prabhupada that he left his body. So Prabhupada sent a letter to Jayananda. However, Jayananda had already left his body. So the letter to Jayananda was for us, because we would be reading it. Jayananda is already gone. So in that letter, Prabhupada remarks how he had such great admiration and pride that I have such a disciple as Jayananda. He was the first one to help me. He did everything. He inaugurated the Rath Yatra. And now he's left his body. And if he has any thought of material enjoyment, he will go to the heavenly planets and enjoy for 10,000 years. But I am certain that he had no material desire and that he went directly back home, back to Vaikuntha. So Prabhupada wrote that letter, and it was for us, because Jayananda had already left. And then Prabhupada issued another letter, and he said, from now on, in all our temples, wherever there is a Rath Yatra festival in any country, Jayananda's picture must be on Lord Jagannath's cart. And I remember many years ago, I was invited to Brazil for the Brazilian Rath Yatra in Sao Paulo. And before the parade started, I noticed there was no picture of Jayananda. So there was a sannyasi there. I went to him and said, where's the picture of Jayananda? Oh, yeah, we have to get it together. And then he arranged everything for the local devotees. They got a picture, they put it on the cart. Because this was Prabhupada's instruction. That was the first instruction. The second thing, he said that from now on, everyone should observe the disappearance day of Jayananda, just like we observe the disappearance days of the six Goswamis and other great saints. So Srila Prabhupada certified that Jayananda went back to Godhead and that he was a great saint. We should honor his disappearance day, and we should have his picture on the Lord Jagannath's cart at every Ratha Yatra. And Jayananda was a grihastha. He was recommended for sannyas several times. And then Prabhupada would call at me and said, "You've been recommended for sannyas." "Oh no, Srila Prabhupada. I can't take sannyas. I'm not at that level. I'm fallen. I'm a fallen devotee. I just want to be the servant of everyone." Prabhupada accepted that. In the beginning, Jayananda was the temple president because he was the oldest and the most competent. But after a couple of years, he called for a meeting, and all the devotees came, and he said, "I can no longer be temple president, and Chitsukananda should take my place as temple president." And everybody said, "But Jayananda, you're the most qualified. You have to remain temple president." "No, I can't remain temple president." "Well, why?" "Because I don't like telling people what to do. I just want to be their servant." Trinada Pisunichana, Tarori Vasa Ishtara. This was Jayananda Prabhu. So that he lived up to the ideal of Daivi Varnashram. He was so humble. Just a simple grihastha. So here, let's continue Prabhupada speaking about the Vedic Varnashram. And where did we leave off? In the sannyas order, also there were 4 stages of upliftment toward perfection. These stages are called Kutichak, Bahutak, Parivrajacharya, and Paramahamsa. So Kutichak stage of sannyas means that you don't live in your home anymore. You give up living in your home and you live somewhere else. The Bahudak form is you don't live in the city anymore. You live on the outskirts of the village. The Paramahamsa stage is you go traveling. You don't stay in one place. And then there's the Paramahamsa stage, which Prabhupada's going to speak about now. The Paramahamsa stage of life is the highest stage of perfection. This order of life is respected by all others. So we have an example, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He was a grihastha, but he was a Paramahamsa grihastha. He was even known as the 7th Goswami. He was given that title because he was such a Paramahamsa Vaishnava. But he never took sannyas. So, Prabhupada continues now, relating to the shloka. Maharaj Rishabh, the son of King Nabi and Meru Devi, was an incarnation of the Lord, and he instructed his sons to follow the path of perfection by tapasya. So we're following tapasya. What is that tapasya? We follow the 4 red-letter principles. That is our tapasya. What other tapasya? We're always chanting Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Keva. So we have a particular lifestyle, a particular tapasya. But how do our acharyas describe our tapasya? The tapasya that we follow as Vaishnavas compared to the tapasya that the Mayavadis follow? Well, our acharyas say that our Bhakti Yoga tapasya is Kevalananda Kanda. It's simply the path of bliss. Kevalananda Kanda. It's just blissful, following the Bhakti Yoga path. That's our tapasya, is bliss. In the beginning, though, it may seem difficult, which Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, that in the beginning, it may seem like poison. Very difficult, but in the end, it's nectar. So what is nectar in the beginning, the Bhakti Yoga process, may seem like poison for the newcomers. But what is poison for the common people, Indriya Tripti, what is nectar for the Indriya Tripti, for the common people, is poison for the Vaishnavas, because we're not interested at all in Indriya Tripti. We're only interested in Bhagavad Seva, Bhagavad Dharma. So, Prabhupada's going to speak on this now, that the Maharaj Rishabh, he instructed his sons to follow the path of perfection by tapasya, which sacrifices one's existence and enables one to attain the stage of spiritual happiness, which is eternal and ever increasing. So here Prabhupada is referring to the shloka, chapter 9, shloka 22. Raja Vidya Raja Guyam Pavitramidam Uttamam Pratyakshavagavam Dharmyam Susukam Kartum Avyayam. That this path of Bhakti Yoga is the most transcendental, it's the most purest, and it's ever increasing, joyfully performed and ever increasing. So it may seem like tapasya for the newcomers, but our lifestyle of following the four ways, chanting the 16 rounds, tending the artis, only eating Mahaprasad, it's Kevalananda Kanda, simply the path of bliss. So, Prabhupada saying it's eternal and ever increasing. Susukam kartum avyayam. Avyayam means it's ever increasing. There's no end. It's increasing eternally. Then Prabhupada continues, every living being is searching after happiness, but no one knows where eternal and unlimited happiness is obtainable. But we know, now we know. It's by taking up the path of Bhakti Yoga, devotional service, Bhakti Seva, Nam Bhajan. We know this now. But before we didn't know that. So then Prabhupada continues that foolish men, he says men, he didn't say people, which would include the ladies. But he didn't include the ladies, he just said foolish men. Prabhupada had a lot of respect for the ladies. In fact, I was on a Sankirtan book distribution party in India. There was 3 of us. We were all from England. And we were traveling all over India distributing books. And then Prabhupada gave this instruction to us. Because we inquired how to do this service very good. So Prabhupada said, preach with the courage of an Englishman and the heart of a Bengali mother. And later on I realized Prabhupada was referring to his mother. But that means all mothers. We preach with the courage of an Englishman, but the heart of a mother. Now Prabhupada's talking about foolish men. Foolish men seek after material sense pleasure as a substitute for real happiness. This Indriya Tripti is a substitute for the real, eternal Susukam Kartam, everything you do which is joyfully performed. They're thinking that Indriya Tripti is the Susukam Kartam. They're wrong. They've been misled. So such people, such foolish men forget that temporary so-called happiness derived from sense pleasures is also enjoyed by the dogs and hogs. There's nothing special in Indriya Tripti. All the animals are also engaged in Indriya Tripti. So the Shastra says that if a person, a human being, is only engaged in Indriya Tripti, then such a person is a dvipada pashu. Dvipada pashu, two-legged animal. This is Shastra. It's not me saying this. This is Shastra. I'm just repeating. So, Prabhupada continues on this point. No animal, bird, or beast is is bereft of the sense pleasure. So, in other words, the Dvipada Pashu human beings are the same level, as Prabhupada says here, as animals, birds, or beasts. We don't want to be on that level, right? Right?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. In every species of life, including the human form of life, such happiness is immensely obtainable. Indriya Tripti. It can be obtained, no problem. The human form of life, however, is not meant for such cheap happiness. So here's Prabhupada's definition of Indriya Tripti. Cheap happiness. That is also enjoyed by the animals, the birds, and the beasts. The human life, Prabhupada continues, is meant for attaining eternal and unlimited happiness by spiritual realization. And when we take up the Bhakti Yoga process, then we're taking up the path of spiritual realization. And everyone who takes up the path of spiritual realization, they're following the path of Daivi Varnashram. This spiritual realization is obtained by tapasya, or undergoing voluntarily the path of penance and abstinence from material pleasure. So in the beginning, we may think it's a penance, the abstinence of material pleasures. But once we experience the joy of kirtan, the joy of Vaishnava Sangha, the joy of Krishna Seva, of honoring Mahaprasad, celebrating the festivals of the Lord, once we experience that, then we become materially exhausted. We've lost the taste for material sense enjoyment. We just lose the taste. It doesn't have it anymore. You can go to Domino's or Pizza Hut and you can get a pizza. Or you can have some Mataji make you a pizza and offer it to Krishna. And what a difference. It's like day and night. So we experience this. The happiness that comes from devotional life as compared to what comes from material life. And the people in material life are never satisfied. Never satisfied. They want more and more and more. This is called lobha, greed. There's kam, which is lust. And lust resides in everyone's heart because we're not yet pure devotees. So there's that, we don't have that Krishna prema yet, so that lust inclination is still there. But in the non-devotee lifestyle, that lust is fully manifested. But what is greed? Greed is even beyond lust. Because you can lust for something, and once you get it, you relax. But greed, you can never relax. You want more and more and more. You hear that someone's got $1 billion, I have to have $2 billion. Someone's got $1 trillion, I have to have $1 trillion and more. I got to be on top. I have to be the richest, the most powerful, the most respected, the most honored, the most famous. So I say that greed is lust on steroids. Lust on steroids is greed. So the devotees don't have that. What we have is lolyam. There's a difference between lobha, greed, and lolyam, which is intense eagerness for serving the Lord. Intense eagerness for serving the Lord. Serving the Lord means pleasing the Lord, doing something for His enjoyment, for His pleasure, and that gives us pleasure. And the Grihastas can understand this point better than any other ashram. And why is that? Because when the Grihastas have children, they do everything for their children. Krishna says, Sarvadharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vaja, make me number one. And all the other ashrams, they have difficulty making Krishna number one. But the Grihastas, they know how to do it, because as soon as they have a child, that child becomes number one. They know how to make someone else number one. Is that correct?
Yes.
Whatever money you have saved for your own holiday or for this or that, now you have a child, it goes for him. For his food, his education, his clothing, everything's for the kid. So Mamekam Sharanam, surrender and make someone else number one. The Grihastas know how to do that. And if we can do it for our children, then we use the same consciousness to do it for Krishna. You know how to do it already. You've done it. Now do it for Krishna. This is the advantage, tremendous advantage of the Grihastha ashram. And I'll just, for myself, I'll just share. My wife and I were never able to have children, so we adopted a child. And when we adopted that child, she became like it was our own child. She opened up my heart. I was doing everything for that child. Even though she wasn't my child, just adopted. But she opened up my heart chakra, and I could experience selflessness. Unmotivated service for the benefit of somebody else, which I hadn't experienced before, to be honest. So the Grihastha ashram, so many benefits from the Grihastha ashram. So Prabhupada speaking that the devotees, we voluntarily undergo the goals of tapasya and abstinence from material pleasure in order to become fully Krishna conscious. Those who have been, Prabhupada continues, those who have been trained for abstinence in material pleasures are called dhira. So here we are now back to the original shloka, dhiranam, which Prabhupada translates as the perfect beings. We all have to become dhira, the perfect beings. Doesn't matter what ashram you're in, doesn't matter what body you have. You have to become dhira. Vaishnavas are dhira. So then Prabhupada says, so let me repeat that sentence. Those who have been trained for abstinence in material pleasures are called dhira, or men undisturbed by the senses. Undisturbed. Sober, not intoxicated. Only these dhiras can accept the orders of sannyas, and they can gradually rise to the status of the Paramahamsa, which is adored by all members of society. Prabhupada used to call our Grihastas, Grihastha Brahmacharis. He said, we all know that in 1933, or early 30, they came back in 1933. So in the early 1930s, Bhaktisiddhanta sent 3 sannyasis to spread Krishna consciousness in London. They couldn't do it. They came back, they said, impossible. These people in the West, they will never give up eating meat, they'll never give up drinking intoxication. But then Prabhupada sent 3 Grihastha couples to London. And they made devotees. They spread Krishna consciousness all over England. Prabhupada was so proud. He said, my Grihastas could do what the sannyasis couldn't do. And when they first came, Prabhupada was in Montreal at the time, and they were in San Francisco. They were San Francisco devotees, so they came to Montreal. Prabhupada said, first come here, and I'll train you up before you go to London for preaching. So then they came, and Prabhupada said, so tomorrow morning, after class, I will nominate one of you and teach one of you how to lead kirtan, because the success of the mission in spreading Krishna consciousness is kirtan. So everyone thought it would be Mukunda. He was a musician, professional musician before he joined. But Prabhupada chose Yamuna. And he had Yamuna come up to his room every day at 4 p.m. and he would teach her how to play harmonium, how to sing all the bhajans, which you hear on that first album, the Radha Krishna Temple album. And then Yamuna told me, she said one day Prabhupada was in a very joking mood, and he was laughing, and he said, you know, I'm a sannyasi, and you're a woman. We shouldn't even be together in the same room. But you're just like my granddaughter, and I'm your grandfather, it's okay. So Prabhupada, he was so practical. He was not a rules and regulations man. Because he explained to us that if you follow the rules too strictly, or if you follow the rules too loosely, both of those situations are cause of fall. Niyamagraha. Niyamagraha, either too strict or too loose, cause of fall down. So you have to adjust according to time, place, circumstance, situation, body, personality, everything. So he chose Yamuna. Then what happened was they recorded Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. That was the second recording. The first recording that George Harrison did for them was Hare Krishna Mantra, and that was number 1 all over Europe and other countries. Then the second follow-up hit was Govinda. So Shyam Sundar sent the first copy of Govinda to Prabhupada. Prabhupada was at the Los Angeles temple when he received it. And he listened to it. And he wrote back this letter. It's in the letters, wonderful letter. Thank you so much for sending me this recording of Yamuna singing Govinda. And I'm listening to it every day with tears in my eyes. Tears in my eyes. He loved it so much that he said, from now on, in every center in our International Society for Krishna Consciousness, this melody, Govinda Manipurusham, sung by Yamuna, must be played for the Thakur Darshan Arati, the greeting of the deities Arati. And a little bit later, some brahmacharis wrote to Srila Prabhupada, dear Srila Prabhupada, we're reading the Shastra that a brahmachari should not hear the voice of a woman singing. So what should we do? So Prabhupada said, well then you can go to the forest. But then how you will preach? And I am listening to this with tears in my eyes every day. So Prabhupada was such a Vaishnava. It was beyond the rules and regulations. He set the standard, higher standard, based on qualification. Now, the Vedas, they can't base on qualification because it's for everybody. It's not specific. It's general. But Prabhupada's instructions are specific for all of us who are in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So, then Prabhupada concludes, King Rishabh propagated this mission, the mission of everyone becoming dhira, perfect beings. And at the last stage, he became completely aloof from the material, bodily needs, which is a rare stage not to be imitated by foolish men, but to be worshipped by all. So we don't imitate that. We have to come to that naturally. And how do we come to that naturally? Is there a process? Does anybody know how we come to that stage of Paramahamsa naturally? Who knows?
By Shravan, listening,
Sorry?
hearing.
Shravanam, hearing. What are we hearing? The Kirtanam, Shravanam Kirtanam. By taking up this process of Shravanam Kirtanam, what happens? We enter into the stage of Vishnu Smaranam. We always remember the Supreme Lord. And then, at the last stage of our life, we remember Krishna and go back home, back to Krishna. So what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, shloka number 6, whatever you think of at the time of quitting the body, that destination you will surely achieve. You think of Krishna at the end, you go to Krishna. You think of something else, don't think of a rhinoceros, okay? So I'll just read again the shloka. The 8th incarnation was King Rishabha, son of King Nabi, and his wife Meru-Devi. In this incarnation of the Lord showed the path of perfection, which is followed by those who have fully controlled their senses and who are honored by all orders of life. Followed by those who have fully controlled their senses. And that can be anybody. It could be a child. Prahlad Maharaj was a child. He fully controlled his senses. Dhruva Maharaj was a child. He fully controlled his senses. It can be anybody. Not just one group or one classification and everyone else excluded. No, it's for everybody. Dhirana, everyone has to come to this platform. And this is the gift Srila Prabhupada gave to us, that each and every one of us can come to this platform, perfect their life, and go back home, back to Godhead. So, let's get serious. Let's really take this to heart and perfect our lives and return home back to Godhead. And why is it so important? This is my final point. Why is it so important that we go back home, back to Godhead in this life? And I'll share with you the reason why it's so important. And not for you, not from your perspective. You can understand from your own perspective why it's so important. But I'm going to tell you from Prabhupada's perspective. Because if nobody goes back home, back to God at the end of this life, Prabhupada might think he was a failure. How could we do that to Prabhupada? His goal was to bring us back home, back to Godhead. And if we don't make it, he may think he's a failure. No, we all have to go back home, back to Godhead. So that everyone in Goloka will come up to Srila Prabhupada and say, you did a fantastic job. Look at all these people coming back to Godhead. Even that rascal Vyasaki came back. So I'm fixed on this. I have to go back. Just so that Prabhupada will be glorified. Because he deserves to be glorified for the service that he did for the world. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada. Jai.
Vyasaki Prabhu ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Are there any questions?
My question is not exactly related to this verse, but you know, every time you've been speaking a lot about Srila Prabhupada, and everything is about Srila Prabhupada. When Srila Prabhupada disappeared from this world, when he left, how did your relationship with Srila Prabhupada grew, and how did you create more memories with him? How did that happen?
Well, how I found out was I was distributing books in Indonesia, a Muslim country. Myself and another devotee, Satyanarayan, we were traveling all over the world, distributing full sets of Srila Prabhupada's books in every library, National Library, Public Library, College Library, University Library. And we distributed full sets of Prabhupada's books. We called it the Encyclopedia of Vedic Knowledge. So, and we would get orders. They had contracts. We'd go to the libraries and they would sign. And then the books would be shipped from Bombay, from our warehouse. So one morning, I was going out to a college in Bali. We had finished Java. We were now on the island of Bali. And I was going to a college in a little village, a town called Singaraja. So I called up our secretary, Arvindakshi, in Jakarta. And I said, you know, how's everything going? I'm sending you the orders of the books being sent out. And she said, have you heard? I said, what? She said, I just spoke to the devotees in Singapore. Prabhupada left his body last night. So I was in a state of shock. So I hung up the phone. And I was thinking, what do I do now? What do I do now? And I thought about it, and I came to the conclusion that Prabhupada would want me to carry on, just continue doing the service, distributing his books. So I carried on, I drove, I got in a van, a taxi, went to the Singaraja. Now before we had come to Indonesia, before we came traveling there, in Jakarta I had gone to the Hindu ministry to let them know that we're here, we're going to be distributed, because Indonesia is a Muslim country. So and the person in charge, his name was Mr. Puja, so I told him, we're here, we're from Israel, we're going to be going to all the libraries distributing the books. So I arrived at this college in Singaraja. I'm walking down the hall towards the library, and all of a sudden a door opens and out comes Mr. Puja. He was also there. And he looks at me and he says, have you heard? And I said, yes, I have heard. And I was shocked that in this little town of Singaraja, people knew that Prabhupada had left. So he said, what are you doing here? Well, I came to distribute our Vedic encyclopedia, Prabhupada's books. Let me introduce you to the librarian. So he took me to the librarian, and you know, he took a full set of the books. And then I went back to Denpasar, where we were staying, myself and Satyanarayan. He had gone to a different college. I had gone to this college. And then when I came back, and he came back, where we were staying, and I said to him, have you heard? He hadn't heard. And I told him Prabhupada had left. And he started crying. He was crying so profusely that he had to leave the room and go outside. And I was thinking, wow, that is the real devotion. My heart is like hard as stone and cold as ice. Tears couldn't come to my eyes, but he was crying like a baby. So I just resolved from that point on just to dedicate my life traveling and preaching and sharing with everybody wherever I went what Prabhupada had given to me. So that is a brief summary of what happened. Hare Krishna.
Question.
Yeah.
So being in Grastashram, what do you think what we should do on a daily basis to attain the unlimited happiness and just go back to Godhead?
What's the question? I didn't hear.
Oh, sorry, I'm not
Being in Grihastha ashram,
Come closer, please. My ears are 80 years old. They're not as sharp as they used to be.
being in Grihastha ashram, what should they do to go back to Godhead?
The same as everybody else. It's the same process for everybody. It's not different. Everybody follows the same rules, the same process. It's not different for one person or another person. Krishna has equal vision. He sees everyone with equal vision. If we do not see other devotees with equal vision, means that we have a different opinion than Krishna, right? Krishna sees with equal vision. If someone in our movement doesn't see with equal vision, makes different distinctions between people, they have a different opinion than Krishna. Clear? And if someone has a different opinion than Krishna, can you say that that person represents Krishna? No, it's illogical. Someone who has a different opinion than Krishna, can you say that he's following the instructions of Krishna? No. So Krishna consciousness means not only thinking of Krishna, not only serving Krishna, but having the same opinions as Krishna about everything, and specifically in this case, seeing everyone with equal vision. Now, seeing everyone with equal vision doesn't mean that we treat everyone as our best friend and we hug and kiss everybody. It doesn't mean that. We have people that are family members that we're very close to, and people that we're not close to, that we don't even know. For those people, we all honor and respect them in our mind. But for the Vaishnavas, we offer obeisances right to them. And to our family members, we embrace them. So for different people, you treat them differently in terms of offering honor and respect and relationship. But we see everyone with equal vision. Even the Karmis. We offer our respects to them mentally or verbally, but we see everyone with equal vision. Why is that? Because everyone is Nitya Krishna Das. Everyone is spirit soul. Nobody's their body. Not even the dog is his body. Not even the cat is the body. Everyone is spirit soul. So Krishna has that equal vision. We should also have that equal vision. So I'll tell you this. Srila Prabhupada had come to New Vrindavan. And in the early days. And he was staying in a cottage. And one sunny afternoon, at 4 o'clock, Prabhupada always came out at 4 o'clock. He always went for a morning walk at 6 a.m. He was so regulated. So he came and sat under a tree. Word spread, and all the devotees in New Vrindavan came and sat in front of Srila Prabhupada. And they were speaking, and it was a nice darshan, very relaxed, informal darshan. Now, New Vrindavan was a rural farm community, so there were animals there. There were horses. The horses would drag logs that the devotees would cut up and build buildings with homes. There were cows. Cows would give the milk and till the soil. There were dogs. Dogs would keep intruders out. And there were cats. Cats kept the mice away, especially from the altar. So anyway, Prabhupada's there, he's speaking, and one of the cats had just had kittens. And they were about 2 months old. And 2 of these little kittens were running and jumping and playing. And to the side, Prabhupada's speaking. And all of a sudden, these 2 kittens come running up to Prabhupada, and they both jump on Prabhupada's lap. And all the devotees went, what's Prabhupada going to do now? Because the conception was that animals are muchi, and Prabhupada is suchi. What's Prabhupada going to do now? But Prabhupada had equal vision. He said, not different than Krishna. So he had his hand in his bead bag, this hand. So with his left hand, he looked down, and with his left hand, he started petting the kittens like this. And they were going like this. And then they started purring. They were really happy. And then Prabhupada spoke to the devotees. He said, just see, even the animals have love. And the duty of the Vaishnava is to bring out the love in everyone's heart. That's what preaching is for. To bring out the love in everyone's heart. There's another cat story. In the mid-1980s, I had shifted from India, and I was staying in New York Temple. And the head pujari was complaining to the temple president that we got a real mouse problem here. They're always going on the altar. It's terrible. What are we going to do? The temple president said, well, we can't kill them. I mean, we're devotees. So the head pujari was, disturbed, didn't know what to do. Then a couple of days later, the front door of the temple was open, and in walks a cat out of nowhere. The head pujari sees the cat, says to the temple president, this is our answer from Krishna. Let this cat stay here, and this is how we get rid of the mice. And so what happened? Once that cat, they fed the cat, they gave milk and everything to make the cat very comfortable. And as soon as that cat moved in, the mice moved out. They packed their bags, they hired a taxi, and they left. And we never ever had any cat-mouse problems. But not only that, the cats keep away the cockroaches. They're natural-born hunters. Anything that moves, they go after. So the cockroaches were gone. The mice were gone. The head pujari was so happy. The altar was clean and blissful and everything. So he said to the temple president, we got to keep this cat. This cat is doing Vaishnava Seva. So the temple president said, well, let's give her a name. So he said, well, let's call her Devi. So Devi lived in the New York temple for a number of years. I don't know exactly how many, 5, 6, 7, like that, something like that. And then one day, as it happens, animals have a much shorter lifestyle. Devi left her body. And the New York devotees gave her a proper funeral. They put tulsi leaves around her, they chanted the Maha Mantra, they brought her outside to the garden area, and they dug a hole, they chanted the Maha Mantra, laid her to rest. She got a proper Vaishnava farewell, probably took a human birth as a devotee in her next life. So you have to see everything with equal vision, you understand? Anybody who sees the difference, they're not seeing like Krishna seeing. Hare Krishna.
Sorry, it's me again. I just really want to know one of your best memories with Prabhupada. One of the memories that really cherish your heart. If you want to share with us.
Did someone repeat?
One of your favorite Prabhupada memories.
One of the what?
Favorite Prabhupada memory.
My favorite Prabhupada memory? Okay. Well, my favorite Prabhupada memory is when I went to Kashmir. Before we went to Indonesia, Satyanarayana and I were distributing books, full sets of Prabhupada's books, the Encyclopedia of Vedic Knowledge all over India. So we went up to Kashmir, because Kashmir was mostly Muslim. And we were thinking if we can distribute books to the Muslim colleges and libraries, Prabhupada would be very pleased. And we were doing that. We were successful. That's why we were sent all over Southeast Asia. Anyway, so one day, I'm shortening it, making it very short. One day I'm coming back from college where I had just sold a full set of books to a Muslim college. I'm in the rickshaw going back to the Dharamshala where we were staying. And out of the corner of my eye, I see a sign, library. So I said to the rickshaw, Bas. I got down. I walked back, and the sign said, Oriental Library. We had a briefcase. So I walked in with my briefcase. I'm a brahmachari at that time. And I'm looking at some of the books, and they're all Shastras, in Pali script, in Devanagari script, in Kashmiri script. Because I'd studied different scripts, so I recognized. So I was thinking, this is a perfect library for Prabhupada's books. So while I was looking, the librarian came up to me and said, can I help you? So I gave him my card, which said, Vyasaki Das Brahmachari, Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, and in the 4 corners it said, London, New York, Los Angeles, Bombay. So he looked at it. opened the briefcase, I gave him a Bhagavatam. We always use the Bhagavatam as a sample for them to look at. So he looks at it, sees the photos in the beginning, looks at it. Then he hands it back and he says, oh, I think we have this already. So one of the things that Prabhupada taught me was that salesmanship begins when they say no. Before they say no, you don't sell. You just make a nice presentation, very friendly, and you don't go into salesmanship mode. But then when they say no, that's when salesmanship begins. So he said, I think we have this already. So I said, oh, I can guarantee you don't have it. I know for a fact you don't have it. These books were just printed in America, just arrived in India. It's the first translation of Shrimad Bhagavtam ever in English with word-for-word synonyms and purports. I guarantee you don't have it, but you should have it. So he said, well, let me check. So he goes to the back, through a door, and I'm waiting there. And then he comes back, and he's holding Srila Prabhupada's first 3 volumes of the Shrimad Bhagavatam that he printed in Delhi before going to America. And he said that the author himself came here, and I purchased these directly from him. So I said, but look, it's only first canto. Bhagavatam is 12th canto. You don't want the whole set? You gotta have the whole set in your library. So I preached to him, and he took the whole set, he signed the contract. And I came out of there and said, oh my God, I just distributed books to the same person that Prabhupada distributed books to. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I came here, Prabhupada came here, we preached to the same guy and distributed books to the same guy. So a few days later, we finished doing all the libraries in Kashmir. And I said to Satyanarayan, we got to go straight back to Vrindavan. Because Prabhupada, I heard that Prabhupada was coming to Vrindavan. He may even be there now. So we drove straight back. And on the way down, because Kashmir is in the Himalayas, we passed an apiary. And there I saw beehives. And I said to Satyanarayan, let's bring back some Himalayan honey for Prabhupada. So we brought back this huge bottle of golden, thick Himalayan honey. And we drove all the way to Vrindavan. We got there, we heard that Prabhupada was there, we were ecstatic. Went to the Brahmachari ashram, we showered, cleaned up, tilak, fresh dhoti everywhere, everything. And then we went to Prabhupada's door and knocked. And Prabhupada's secretary at that time, his name was Jagadish. So Jagadish came to the door, and Satyanarayan and I both knew Jagadish. So we said, hey Jagadish, we just came back from Kashmir, we distributed full sets of Prabhupada's books, all the Muslim colleges, we brought some Himalayan honey. We'd like to see Prabhupada. I said, well, you can't. Well, why not? Because Prabhupada already has some guests there. So you can't go in now. So I remembered, salesmanship begins when they say no. So I said, well, look, why don't you do this? Why don't you go in, tell Srila Prabhupada what we've done, we've just returned back, and ask him when we can see him. He said, I can do that. So he closed the door, we waited, Satyanarayan and I, we waited. And a few minutes later, he opened the door again and said, Prabhupada will see you now. Wow. So we came into Prabhupada's room in Vrindavan. How many people have been there? It's the same now as it was then. The only thing is there's a barricade that wasn't there in those days. And the bed wasn't there. Otherwise it's the same. So we came in, the first thing we do is we offer Dandavat Pranams. And as we offer Dandavat Pranams, Prabhupada says to the 2 Indian gentlemen who were there, he said, here are 2 very nice boys. He read like this. Here are 2 very nice boys. We're offering Dandavat Pranams. So the Indian gentleman got up and left, and then Jagadish introduced us. And then I told Srila Prabhupada that we had just come from Kashmir and distributed all his books to the college libraries there. Then Prabhupada said, oh, I went to Kashmir before I went to America. This is November 1976. Nobody knew that Prabhupada had gone to Kashmir before he went to America. And now Satyanarayana and I are the only two people who know. And Prabhupada said, oh, I went to America, to Kashmir before I went to America. And I said to him, yes, Srila Prabhupada, I know. I went to that Oriental library. I spoke to the librarian, and now he's taken a full set of your books. And Prabhupada was beaming. He was so happy. And that was like the most unbelievable moment of joy and union with Srila Prabhupada that I ever had. It was just so powerful. And then Prabhupada said, Prabhupada took off his glasses. He said, and he opened his eyes so wide, he said, do you remember going through the Kashmir tunnel and seeing the Kashmir Valley? And when we had gone through that tunnel, and when we saw the Kashmir Valley, it's like an amazing panorama. And both Satyanarayana and I went, wow. And when Prabhupada opened his eyes, like he was seeing it again. Do you remember going through the tunnel and seeing that panorama of the Kashmir Valley? And I had a realization that Prabhupada also had a wow moment when he saw that, just like we did. So then Prabhupada was speaking to Satyanarayana, speaking to me. I can't remember everything he said. It was about a 12-minute darshan. But then Prabhupada wound up the darshan, brought it to a close, and then he looked directly at me and he said, so, wherever you go and whomsoever you meet, you share with them the knowledge of the parampara coming from Krishna that I have given to you. You share it with them. You will benefit, they will benefit. And in this way, by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order, you become Guru. That's what Prabhupada said. So therefore, since that day, November 1976, I took it as my mission. Prabhupada wants me to travel all over the world and share what I learned from him with others. So that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm here. I've been doing it ever since. That's a direct instruction, direct order. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.